What's up, Wargamers? Welcome back to World of Wargaming. I'm Isaiah, and today I invite you to have a snack, a comfy seat, a beverage, never forget the bevy, and let me talk at you for a minute. Today, I would like to talk to you about this little book right here. This is a third-party independent expansion for Forbidden Psalm that provides a different way of playing a campaign for the game other than the standard missions. It's by Ronaldo Agostini. If I butchered your name, man, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I tried my best. And we're going to take a look at it. It's very slim. It's the small, I think this is called A4 size printing. The art is pretty on brand. There's a really good one, but not the same as the normal books, the normal stuff by Kevin. So it's still very dark, but a different style. It's not quite as jagged is the word that comes to mind. A lot of the illustrations in the regular core books, they just feel they're very sharp. They're very sharp, and these are a little bit softer, but same vibe. You know, dark cyberpunk setting. Oh, this is good right here. Look at this. How freaking sick is that? That's a good spread page right there. Just full on whole page illustration. Here's a sweet piece of art. Now, first things first, this is not a standalone game. You still need to go get the rules for kill sample process in order to play this game. Unless you just know them by heart because you've played so much Forbidden Psalm. The overarching goal of the campaign is to overthrow a corporation. And it gives you instructions, which we'll take a look at probably in a separate video, for how to build said corporation. You can do it as a small one, a medium one, or a mega corp. And then it's a map campaign from there. So you have hexes that look like this. And you're moving through that hex map trying to take down the CEO, and each hex is a different zone or thing that can give you bonuses and things like that. It's a really cool way to play a campaign, and I'm really excited to see that style of campaign in this setting with rules that I'm already very familiar with and still manage to mess up all the time. After the building, we have the corporation set up, which again, we'll take a look at that separately. We come to the wanted level. Now, wanted level works slightly different in this. You're instructed to use this page for wanted levels as opposed to the wanted level in the core book. And that's mainly because of how interaction with the corpos goes in this, because the corpos have their own special enforcers and stuff like that. So instead of the normal interactions with wanted level, you have these. So you will gain a wanted level every time you do one of the following. Anytime you complete a scenario where at least one crew member survives, anytime you kill any corporate hostile being key there, or anytime you meet a scenario-specific objective, which would be listed in the scenario itself. So your wanted level can climb pretty quick here. With a wanted level of 10 or higher, you gain the benefits of an extra 100 creds at the end of a scenario, and when you recruit a new member, they come with one random weapon. So as you're waging war against the corpo dweebs, you'll hit certain milestones at 10, 20, 30, 40. Every 10 is a milestone of wanted level. So at those points, the corporation has taken so much damage that they have to pull back and lick their wounds for a little bit, at which point in the campaign flow, you would play a scenario against just the other opponent. Now, if you're playing solo, this doesn't happen, which I will most likely be playing solo. But in head-to-head, that is a thing. And I kind of like that. That's neat. It kind of gives a little bit of flavor. It makes sense. You know, like you've gained 10 wanted level against this corp, or 20 or whatever. It makes sense that they would have to chill out for a minute and kind of collect their resources and reassess the situation and try to find a better solution to their issue. The issue being me. So in the intermission mission, where you're fighting against just the other player, the goal is to just eliminate as many of them as possible, but you also get a primary target where you roll a d6. On a 1-2, you're looking to kill the crew member with the highest strength. On a 3-4, the highest knowledge. And a 5-6, the highest toughness. Whoever wins gets to take over one of the hexes that their opponent controls. So it should be adjacent to a hex that they control. If the losing crew has none, the winners gain control of a random hex. So that's interesting. I like that. We then come to the page for enforcers, which we also use these rules for the enforcers as opposed to the ones in the book, because the ones in the book are city enforcers. In this campaign, the corporation has cut ties to the outside side and have booted up their own internal network. So they are separate and isolated from the rest of the world, so they can't rely on those public city enforcers. So they have invented, hired, created, in some situations, their own corpo enforcers. So they have their own rules because they're special. So the corpos enforcers will automatically come in. They're going to come every game on turn 4 at the beginning of the round 4 hostile phase. To see which ones come, you check over here on page 15 and it'll tell you up in that corner, focus. It'll tell you up in that corner the wanted level of each of the types of enforcers. So whatever your wanted level is, that's what it'll go off of. And in a head-to-head game, it'll go off of whoever has the highest wanted level. And if there are multiple targets available, corporate enforcers will always target ones from the crew that has the higher wanted level. But that only applies to the enforcers. It does not apply to regular corporate hostiles. No corporate hostile will ever target another hostile with the name corporate in its title. If you're playing in a head-to-head game, there's also this cool thing called corruption, where for 100 creds, you can bribe one of the corpo enforcers to just ignore you when it comes on the table. And the funny thing is that if both teams, both players bribe the same model, it'll take their money and then just show up and act as a regular hostile, which I think is hilarious and fitting. Also on this page, page 15, we have the numbers for how many of them show up in solo and versus games. Most of them all of them pass the first level, past the corporate 10 heads. You'll get 1 in solo, 2 in versus. In the 10 heads, you get 2 solo, 2 versus, because they're pretty basic. They're the pretty basic stun baton type enforcers. Now we have a special kind of enforcer here called Haywire. And I love that it kind of opens up Haywire's description with a Black Sabbath quote from Iron Man. Well played, sir. I'm here for that all day. Anyways, it's kind of just, it's what it sounds like. It's a corpo man-machine potential hybrid mix that has gone absolutely haywire. So the way it works is during the 10th step of the end phase. We're going to do this now. I feel like maybe this should have been a little bit in a different spot. I don't know though. But anyways, it's with the other enforcers. So this is what we're going to talk about. You do this during the end phase of the campaign game. You roll a d20, and then you compare that to the advanced locations that are on the map, on the list of the corporation map. If it rolls that number, Haywire will move there. If he moves there and it's controlled by a crew, he will immediately liberate it and place it under corpo control. If the roll is higher than the number of advanced locations, or the location is already controlled by the corp, then Haywire is not on patrol that turn. And if the roll corresponds to an uncontrolled advanced location, he will move there until the next campaign phase. If you choose to assault that hex, he will start in the middle of the board, and the other corpo enforcers will spawn as normal. He will attack anything that is in his line of sight, including other corpos. So he's an absolute man. And if at any point Haywire is killed, then you ignore that step from now on. There's not another one running around. It's just him. Next we come to the loot table. Next we come to the loot table for the campaign, which has all of the good stuff that you need to be trying to pick up. They can only be looted once, and they still count as successfully looted when calculating XP, which is campaign step 7, which will be found on page 19, so we're about to get to that. Booby trap loot tokens don't hit models placed behind cover, so keep that in mind when doing all that stuff. You have access to an experimental drug in this campaign where you can choose to skip your activation with a model to inject it, and then until the end of the scenario, they have an extra action during their turn. However, if they're ever downed, they die immediately. And after the scenario, you have to test toughness with a difficulty rating of 14 without using glitches. It specifically says you can't use a glitch on it. And if you fail, the model dies flat out. If you pass it, you still permanently lose 1 presence. So that's interesting. I may play around. I've not really played around with any of the drugs in the Cyberpunk games that I've played. But I may do some of that in this one and see what happens. Next, we have a page of experimental weapons, which I assume your scenarios will tell you when they're awarded. They can't be sold. Nobody wants to buy experimental weapons. You can use the connected glitch on this table. Connected is, I think, the one that lets you re-roll on the loot tables. There was words down the very side of the page there that I didn't see at first, right here. And then I noticed it and I was like, oh, well, that might actually be pertinent information. In the post-game steps, we have step 0, which is to update the map, taking account of newly controlled locations and lost locations and all that stuff. Step 1 then becomes that every living member, if you survive with at least 1 living member, you get 400 creds, 500 if your wanted level is 10 or higher. Then you got to roll your death saves, which is a DR6 toughness test. For anybody that ends the scenario down, on a fail you die, on a success you roll for an injury. You roll your injuries on the injury table, which they give you an injury table on the opposite page, page 20. Page 4, if you want, you can access your corporate benefits from up to 3 different locations that you control. The different locations have benefits. There are things that you can get access to if you control them in the course of the campaign. You can sell items for half price rounded down. Raise your wanted level by 1. You can also lower it by 1 for each 100 creds you spend. Gain and spend your XP. 1 XP per hostile killed, loot collected, scenario with a member surviving, a model you downed, a death save you passed, and a crew member who died. Crew can spend up to 5 XP to improve an ability, reroll a flaw, gain a feat, or bring a single crew member back from the dead. Though they return from the lab, the clone has a flaw because cloning technology is sketchy even on a good day. Then you can hire new crew members, reallocate your equipment, shuffle stuff around the way you want it to be. And then after all players have done that, then you go and you check for Haywire and you see what he's doing. If a crew controls 4, 6, or 8 locations, depending on the size of the corporation, they can opt to take a run at the CEO on their next mission. If you're playing Versus and a crew reached to a wanted level milestone, then your next mission is the Intermission, as we discussed earlier. And the crew that lost the last scenario chooses the next uncontrolled location to assault. If it was a draw, the one with the higher wanted level makes the choice. And when possible, it should be adjacent to a hexagon their crew controls. But if that is not an option, then if there are no more uncontrolled locations to assault, then you go to page 61. Not sure what's on page 61. Let's go check. I read like 2 words. That part is kind of a choose your own adventure part, depending on how the campaign goes. And I don't want to read that until it's time to read that. And I don't want to ruin it for any of you. So I'm just going to kind of paperclip those pages together so that I don't accidentally read it until it's time. We then come to the conditions for these scenarios, which are party time, gain D3 Molotovs, EMP Shockwave, models with cyber installed, test toughness at the beginning of their first activation, and if they fail, They have to roll for a malfunction for a random cyber mod. Corporate Blitz, round 3 hostile phase, you'll get 2 brutalizers. Reality check, no glitches. Blackout, get the darkness condition. Flickering lights is partial darkness. Every 7 is everything is calm, at least for now. 8 is visor spam, bye. Minus, all crew members suffer -2 to their ranged attacks. That's a bummer. Hunt the Mutant, you can reroll failed attacks made against crew models with at least 1 mutation. Oxygen shutdown, crew members can't spend their action to do a second movement. All down models have +2 DR to their death save roll. Rage against the machine. All crew models can reroll failed attacks against targets with the cyber keyword. And safety measures. All models auto-pass death saves. We then come into a long list of scenarios. The bulk of the book is the scenarios. So yeah. This much of the book is scenarios because every location on that hex map has a specific scenario that goes with it. They're laid out in the pretty standard method of goal, reward, setup and loot, threats, deployment, and then any modifications that you have for solo play. This makes me happy. This reminds me a lot of kind of the way the Chrome Hammer Ascension campaign works, where you had to gather a certain amount of intel before you could go and take down the CEO. Here you have to acquire control of so much of the corpo holdings or real estate and stuff. And I really like that. It adds another layer of fluff and lore and imagination fuel to the game and to the campaign. And I'm really excited to give it a go and see what it's like. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. I know it's on Drive-Thru RPG. Ronaldo sent me this copy through Lulu, which I guess is the print fulfiller for where he is in Italy, and then it had to come here. And it's also got a couple scenarios for a three-player scramble and a 4-player onslaught. This is beautifully done. In the very back cover of the book, it has the full miniature list for all the models that you would need. And then I take it back, we have the very last page, we have a thing for like temporary crew members, just a name tag with stats on it. I like that. That's a good marker. I think that if you get the book, you might get the PDF as well. But I'm not certain of that. But I think you would probably need, unless you want to actually write in your book. I didn't want to actually write out the campaign in my book. I wanted a separate sheet, so I just opened up the PDF and printed those pages so that I have that separate. And then it uses the regular standard character sheet, so that's very easy to get a hold of. I think that one was easy to get a hold of. I don't know if I could download that one or if I had to go through like the PDF and pull it out. But I've got some extra ones laying around, I believe. So I should be able to get into that very easily. So price-wise, I do know that the PDF is $9 on Drive-Thru RPG, which for something fleshed out like this that's using a game that you're familiar with, where you're already going to have models, you're already going to have terrain, but it gives you a different mode to play the game in. I think $9 is a completely fair price. I'm not sure how much the print-on-demand book is because I didn't see that button on Drive-Thru RPG. All I saw was the PDF, and that may be because it was recently, I think it recently came out of Kickstarter, so the physical book or the first round of physical books may have been Kickstarter redemptions, or it may be through a different link. I'm not exactly sure. I'm sorry, I don't have that information. I should have done better there. My bad. But for $9, this is easily $9 worth of fun for me, and I would think that it's probably $9 of fun worth of you because this is printed out and play it. You've already got, if you've been playing Kill Sample Process, you've already got everything that you need to play this game. You just need this $9 PDF. So I haven't played it yet. Again, and again, this is not sponsored or anything. Ronaldo just reached out to me and was like, hey, would you like to check this out? And of course, anytime it's like, hey, do you want to check out a game? Yeah, I want to check out a game. So full transparency there. I didn't buy this. It was given to me to check out, and he was very clear that, you know, you don't need to talk about it on the internet or anything like that, but generally speaking, when I get the opportunity, I'm going to talk about the things that I receive on the internet because I think they're cool and because I want to share them with all of you. That's going to do it for today. I know that I did some rambling here. Sorry, it's getting close to the holidays and things are crazy. My brain is in a million different directions, and before I start to go off on another tangent, I want to say two things. One, thank you so much to Fatboy, aka Derek, the newest member of the Patreon. Thanks so much, man. You made my month. I'm happy to have you here, hanging out, being part of the Wargaming family. Thank you so much. And to everyone else that's not Derek, thank you so much for stopping by, hanging out, and letting me talk at you. I hope you have an absolutely amazing rest of your day.